Welcome to the first fireside chats of hopefully many. My name is Andrew Ngui, and I work at the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. And today we have with us Michelle Bohm, who will be in conversation about how to think differently in these challenging times. Um, it's really going to be a live discussion, back and forth conversation.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm Michelle Bohm. I own Inspired Style Company, which we have a salon and boutique in Pekin. But the main focus of my business is coaching entrepreneurs, and that's how I landed in the salon industry. That is not my background. Um, I started in finance, and I worked in banking for a long time, which that information is coming in very handy right now in the days that we're facing all these banking challenges and understanding that. So that's been pretty helpful for me recently. And then when I left banking to stay home with my kids, I started in a direct sales company, and I was able to form a team, a national team, where we had to really innovate. The direct sales industry was changing when I came into it. Hey, Alex, the direct sales industry was changing when I came into it. And so I needed to adapt and innovate and find new ways to sell an old product. That skill translates perfectly into what we're doing now in our salon. We're trying to find new ways to sell the services that we offer and the products as well. But so I've always been fascinated by how to innovate, how to disrupt an industry that has been in existence for a long time. And that's where Andrew came into my life. I was taking the co-starters class through the EDC, and you had just started there at the end of the class, so we got to come together. And I think it was you, or it was in that class where I had written this down in my co-starters book, that disruption is the catalyst for creation.
Yeah.
And I thought, ooh, I really like that idea. I like the idea that I can use my creativity in an industry by shaking it up. And I don't know about you, but this is the biggest disruption in my daily life, in my business, that I have ever experienced. So I think it is a great time to get creative and start to think a little bit differently. Um, and Andrew, you're a way better expert about innovation and startups and all of that kind of stuff. So please interject whenever you feel like it. But what I've been doing the last 30 days, once I kind of started to feel like I got my feet under me again, was first I started looking back at the things that I have done. Now, we've only been in business, our salon's only been in business for 3 years, but looking back in my past career, looking back at the industry, how it's changed in the past, what's worked and what hasn't. Sometimes looking back and bringing old ideas that haven't been used in a long time can really benefit for a new problem that we have today. I looked at other industries, things that maybe normally wouldn't make sense. Like, it's hard for people to understand how I took selling handbags and used those skills to run a salon. Those two things seem very, very different, which they are, but there's a lot of lessons that I learned back there that I can bring here. So I've been spending a lot of time looking back right now, and then a lot of time looking forward too. Trying to, even looking at other countries, what are they doing there as they are reopening their economies, or as specifically, we have plenty of areas of the world that our industry looks to for trends. So we can look at that. I've been spending a lot of time reading blogs and, just looking outside of our immediate situation to see how people are handling it down the road. And that'll give me some ideas. But the biggest thing that I have been spending so much time talking or thinking about, and what I think we should talk about today, is anticipating the changes that my clients are going to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we can do that in simple ways, like what are some of the fears that they're going to have coming back? to our business? How can we anticipate those things? And that'll be different for all of us because we all serve different kinds of clients. Um, but anticipating those changes and then looking at the assumptions that I have made about my clients in the past and the assumptions that I have now and testing them. Like this is an opportunity for me to maybe test new things that I normally couldn't have when we're busy running our daily business. So that's where I've been spending my time the last couple weeks, really thinking about those changes and what I need to do going forward.
Exciting. Thank you for sharing. I also see we have Alexandra in the call, and as well as your other friend that's joining us by phone. Alexandra, would you like to share a little bit about what you're doing?
As far as well, I actually massage. One of the places I'm a massage therapist, and one of the places I massage out of is out of Inspired Style. And so Michelle has been awesome about getting the team together and going over brainstorming and things like that. The other places I work in another salon in Peoria occasionally, my chiropractor in East Peoria, and also in Bloomington. He is still open. However, with the shutdown and everything, I'm unable to work. So I've been kind of just focusing on how can I still reach out to clients? How can I still try to be of benefit to those that I already work with? So, yeah. And so Michelle's been working with all of us on that too.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Michelle, you have another friend on the phone?
Yes, this is Kimberly. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yep, I'm here.
There's Kimberly.
Hi, because my services are so personal. Oh, hold on. Okay. Just keeping in contact with my clients, reaching out, checking on them, their health. I have a lot of high-risk clients that I deal with, but it's just mainly trying to keep the connection alive. And I know several of them are panicking. They're wanting their appointments and just reassuring them that they're going to be there. Trying to get products out to them as I need to. But, I do social media a little bit. I'm not huge into that because it is the type of salon that it is. So I guess I'm kind of reaching out, looking to you guys to see if there's something more that I need to be doing or just to kind of calm them.
Great. So what I'm hearing here is, what can customers expect from businesses and what can we do right now to engage with our customers to, work with them and understanding what their well-being is like. Is that accurate?
I think so, yes. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's think about that a little bit. What are you doing right now already? So, Kimberly, you talked about just reaching out to them on the phone. Is that what you're doing, or how are you doing that quite specifically?
Typically through text message, some through the phone. I have several that are calling and checking on me as well. So some is through social media, through Facebook Messenger. But other than that, I've actually taken some products over to some people's house, meaning toilet paper, paper towels, those that physically cannot get out due to health circumstances, but that's typically about it.
Okay, and Michelle, you were saying that you were trying to reach out to customers as well and to think about it from their perspective.
Yeah, the conversations that we're having in our team is, simple things like so Alex works, inches from people, and how can we make them more comfortable knowing that they're coming in and getting a massage inches from someone? So, simple things like, should they physically see us washing our hands? Even though that's not normally how we would do things, you would want a nice spa relaxing experience. But as a consumer, am I going to feel more comfortable if I see Alex go wash her hands, then touch me, and then go wash her hands again? So we had simple conversations like that. And, do we want to require clients when they come in our doors to wash their hands? What's the pros and cons of that? Do we want to require people to wear masks in our business? And then as simple as people have gone through some emotional trauma in the last, however long it's going to be before we're able to talk with them again. They've gone through a lot of stuff, and they're going to want to talk. In our industry, they want to talk to their stylist. They have a very deep connection. Kimberly, I'm sure yours is the same way. So we need, practical things like that. Do we need to increase the time for every single appointment? Because they're going to need to let some of that out, and we're probably going to be the people that they want to let it out with. Just little tiny things like that are practical, but then what is the impact of that? So if we are extending time for every single client, what's the impact on revenue for that? Can we sustain that? Do we need to be open more days or longer hours to be able to do that? Do we need to space our clients out? Those are the kind of the conversations that we're having.
New side business.
Yeah.
Coaching and getting your hair cut at the same time.
Yeah, they need that. I mean, I'm just thinking these people are going to have, maybe they've missed 2 appointments. Some of them have missed 6 appointments. If they're weekly, they're going to have a lot to tell you. And they're not going to want to feel rushed. So, that's something that we need to consider. And that does impact our bottom line, but it's something that we need to consider.
Yeah. So, and this is something that we've already been starting to talk about, moving from the transactional nature of business to really being focused on the well-being of our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really on your part. How can you be, for Kimberly, for Alexandra, and for yourself, Michelle, how can you be significantly more explicit about your communication? Like, even though, let's say, and again, it depends on how you build this experience, even though they may not necessarily see you wash your hands, to say something like, hey, I understand that there are challenges, and while you may not necessarily share them with me, I just wanted to let you know that here are the procedures that we've taken in advance to protect yourself as well as to protect us. And here's what that looks like. This means that, we encourage you to only make an appointment if you're well. We will give you a mask. We will give you additional time to prepare, whatever that looks like. We're going to be washing our hands ahead of that. We're going to be using gloves. We're going to be using masks. And we hope that will not diminish the experience that you still want to have with us, right? So there's a lot of the customer experience components moving forward. So essentially, everybody, because of the entire coronavirus, everybody is now in the restart phase, primarily because the rules have all changed. And because the rules have all changed, it's fair game to everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. That's something I can I can be excited about that opportunity.
Yeah. And go ahead, Kimberly.
No, has anybody seen the post that was from North Carolina, I believe, potentially from April 27th? Was it April 27th, I think? They were going to allow salons to reopen with 1 guest at a time. For myself, I mean, my shampoo bowl is right there, very visible. I have about 400 square foot. So I do wash my hands before each client anyway. Being an educator, that's kind of that, pounded into the students. And the rules for my salon is, and this was even before, is that if you are sick, if there's fever, if there's anything, I mean, I don't want to start taking people's temperature, but I did have 2 people that showed up in my salon sick for appointments before this all happened, and they both have ended up testing positive for coronavirus.
Oh, gosh.
So I think it's safe to say, and some clients, my are doctors, they have said any type of upper respiratory, runny nose, whether they think it's allergy, whether they think, it's sinuses, anything like that, to please just stay home. So if it does not develop within 24, 48 hours, then they potentially can come back in. And so far, my clients have been very good about that. I always have hand sanitizer out for them. I don't think masks are going to be possible because the supply is just not there. We were doing a big event here in El Paso, and I cannot get anything for them. So, and most of my masks have been depleted, being given to my clients. You know, I don't know what it's going to look like for the larger salons. I really don't, because I think it is going to be minimal, under 10 people.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, we've also been hearing things about progressive loosening of the shelter in place and the redefining of what essential businesses are. And I think that's probably, you know, something that we're going to be looking into, and who's going to be defined as an essential business going forward as it gradually opens up. So that's really a big question. I see we have somebody else who's joined us. Welcome. Can you share a little bit more about who you are and what your area is in terms of business? Hi, we have a new caller on there. Let's see here. Okay, well, we'll keep going. Please chime in if you have thoughts or questions. But really, I think coming back to your point, Kimberly, yeah, so masks are not feasible. What else is feasible, right? So would that be something like a face shield, if at all? And same thing for you, Alexandra. What if there's an opportunity to create some sort of barrier device in that? I don't know. I mean, for the massage table, especially the hole that you put your head through, you know, stuff like that. Perhaps they do that at the chiropractic, where they put a piece of that paper. Maybe that's part of the disinfection procedure. That
oh, I see.
Right. So they may have you may have a disinfection procedure, and maybe it's a salon owner thing, or maybe it's an operator thing where you actually post on your website ahead of time or social media to say, here are the steps that we're actually taking to disinfect and to protect our clients and our customers, and just as part of our new standard operating procedure.
Yeah, with Inspired, Michelle, like before the shutdown and everything, we had already instituted in place a lot of disinfecting, and I already clean a lot. I just upped it and made sure all surfaces touched were wiped down. One of the things that I'd like to implement is just a general mask, not necessarily like an N95, but just like either homemade or like a surgical mask that's bought or something like that. I'm not sure how my clients would feel about me making them wear a mask, since when they're face down, it's not really an issue. And when they're face up, if I'm wearing a mask, that may be enough protection. I don't know. Obviously, that would definitely affect the comfort level. That would affect the relaxation aspects. So sanitation, of course, is important. And I'm not quite sure, besides me wearing a mask, how they would feel about them wearing a mask. But other than that, like, I don't know how I feel about the face shield, safety wise, of course. But as far as like, where's the line between an industry where relaxation is paramount and psychological aspects come into play all the time for relaxation, and safety, like where that balance is?
That are such great questions. So I've been thinking about this while you were talking. So the first thing is, you know, how salons have these disposable towels, or not disposable, but reusable towels. What is the opportunity now to spawn a new industry of this reusable cloth face masks for everyone coming in, right? And so then that's like single use, but then that gets thrown into the pile for a hot, you know, disinfection wash, right? Every then the next part, great point on relaxation. So with those reusable towel type masks, there's an opportunity for aromatherapy there, right?
True, yeah.
Oh,
Um, um, in addition to the protective benefits, hopefully, right? Because we know that when somebody coughs, that goes up to 3 to 6 feet, and then if it's a sneeze, that goes up to 26 feet. And then it circulates in the upper atmosphere of the room, especially if it's in an enclosed place, which leads to the question on things like air purifiers,
Mhm.
right? So air purifiers, and even opportunity when nobody's in the room to start implementing potentially even a UV light system for the sterilization component of what that could be. And then while you're also sharing, Alexandra, then there was a question of, okay, so if it's truly relaxation, what about virtual reality, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. What is the possibility of taking your phone and to hook it up to a Daydream VR headset, and then it can be, you can choose from all these different things, these different scenes, station scenes for the next however long that is, right?
At
And they,
least half the massage.
huh?
At least the half where you're on your back instead of when you flip
Right,
over.
right. Yeah, yeah, the halfway point.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is the possibility that to, do all these different things in a virtual reality space, that that would then potentially even spawn a new industry for virtual reality, for immersive experiences.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I told you that he would think of something weird, like
Yeah,
crazy
you
like that.
did.
Who would have thought to
You
use?
did. Well, that's funny too because I actually have one of the VR things
Yeah.
That's what I
at
just thought.
home.
Yeah. Yeah. So this could be an opportunity for that, right? Like, and we could even do it with the cardboard version where, maybe it's a value added service. Hey, you want to try something new, here's one. The cardboard thing is pretty cheap, it's like $10 or something, and then it becomes theirs. They can keep it with you at the salon, or they can take it home, whatever, they just have to bring it. And then you can get them in bulk price too, so that could be something that could also be a value added opportunity in terms of, and like I said, the rules are being reinvented.
Yeah, I love that idea. This isn't a face mask. This is an aromatherapy.
Yeah, exactly. It's
You know, this is a special service that we're offering. It just looks like a face mask, but it's
yeah,
an aromatherapy experience.
yeah, a value added experience. Protection plus, right?
And
Yeah.
I've looked at different patterns for sewing. We even talked about it in the meeting that one time of us creating custom masks. Well, not necessarily custom, but like handmade masks and things like that, for use at the salon, where it's like, they're attractive looking and
Mhm.
obviously we can wash them there with the hot water and everything like that. We would just have to be very aware of sanitation for us to take care of the dirty masks. So.
Right.
And then that way people wouldn't have to feel the pressure of coming in with their own mask or walking around in public if that's not something they naturally do or are inclined to do.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, I talked about UV light as an opportunity for sterilization.
Me too. Yeah.
They've been already using that for buses in China as a quick and easy way. So, this could lead to innovation in the basket where you keep your dirty the masks that have been used too, right? Like the
Right.
moment it goes in, the light goes off, right? Because it's, imagine you have the flipper for the lid. The moment the lid's open, the light goes off. The moment the lid's closed, it engages the switch, the light goes on, and that UV light is on the top and the inside of the lid, and you're automatically non-stop sterilization of that, and then you put that into the wash, right? So that could also be another opportunity there for added protection, and this could be the same thing that you would be doing for your towels too, because they're wet. They're for hairstylists and everything, they could be wet, they could have variety of things on it, and not just the coronavirus. So that could all potentially be something that you could develop, in conjunction with everybody else, and see how this could be potentially something that will become the new standard,
Mhm.
right? For salons and such businesses.
I think those value added things that we could do in our services are going to be really essential, because most salons are set up right now that they are making their most money when they're turning those guests quickly. Like, that's been the model. You got to turn the guests fast to make any money. And, you know, a lot of salons are set up to double book people. And if this, you know, it's going the way we assume that it's going to go, we're not going to have a chance to do that anymore. You're not going to be able to have an assistant helping you. That's going to make people nervous. So what are those other add-ons, or how can we get more out of each guest that's sitting in the chair so that we're still able to spread those people out, but not lose the revenue?
Yeah. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is, you know, the opportunity to space them one chair apart in your salon. Right. And in Kimberly's case, Kimberly, do you have more than one person at a time, or how does that work?
I try and do just one person at a time, but sometimes obviously they bring children, but I wipe everything down with the barbicide wipes in between all the chairs. Like I said, I deal with high-risk clients anyway, so it's kind of par for the course for me. And I have a feeling that I personally will be wearing a mask all the time. I don't know that I can ask my clients to.
Got it.
Well, and unless they have something that they want to, but I don't want to be personally held reliable for offering masks to them, and then they end up getting sick. In fact, I was going to reach out to my insurance company just to see what type of parameters I have with what I'm doing. I know they had told me to post signs in the salon, which basically meant that I was taking steps. That way nobody could come back and say that they got sick in my salon. But I don't know. And have you reached out to the board yet? Either one of you?
I have not, no.
Okay. Because I'm almost wondering if they're not going to have their own guidelines and what we have to follow when we do come back.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will. Or I would expect them to, I guess. I'd be surprised if they didn't. At least have some kind of at least have recommendations for us.
Right. No, I definitely think the homemade masks, if we could find someone to make them, I fumble with a sewing machine. So creative every other way. But no, I definitely think as a stylist, having them would be great for our clients. But I do not want to be able to provide them for my clients.
That makes sense. So Kimberly, you did bring up a really good point, and that would be checking with your liability insurance and understanding the limitations as well as the responsibilities. I mean, you can certainly, at least from my perspective, you know, not understanding the industry as well as you guys do, you can certainly offer it, but then also share that the liability is on them if they choose it, right? Like, as opposed to you implicitly taking on that liability too. And that could be one way that might work for both sides, but yeah.
I know the other thing too, I will not allow my clients, and I've already kind of let them all know this, that once they come to the parking lot, you know, they're doing just like the veterinary offices, dentist offices, I will text you when I'm ready for you, and then you can come in. So it would be very limited, and it would give me time to properly give the 5 minutes for the product to sit on the surfaces to be cleansed. You know, and
Absolutely. And I think that's something that I've also spoken with my own hairstylist earlier last month too, before all this stuff happened. And like, what steps are you I basically asked them, what steps are you taking right now, you know, and how's that working out for you, right? So like Kimberly was saying, you know, announce your arrival in the parking lot by tags. And what this could potentially lead to is a very, very interesting and new and novel customer experience, right? Like it almost becomes a concierge style service now. Yeah. So how can you create a concierge style service at scale that's affordable? So that's what I'm thinking about, because, you know, in the world of concierge and, you know, having butlers and service people at your beck and call, nothing's impossible, right? They constantly find creative ways to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're living in those times of the creative ways to make things happen. And so the more we can look at clearly identifying problems, particularly like Kimberly shared with regards to people checking in. So checking in is one thing, and then obviously the procedures, whether it be massage therapy or getting their hair done, that's another part. And then what is the cleanup after? And but of course, overall, what does that experience look like?
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else are you guys thinking about?
So one problem that I'm anticipating is that as soon as we are able to be open, we're going to have a flood of people, and they're all going to want in all at the same time. What systems do we have? I know a lot of salons are still paper books, and texting back and forth with clients and not doing the, maybe not want to reluctant to do online booking or something like that would make it a little bit easier. What system do you have in place so that you are not spending your time texting 40 clients a day trying to book appointments and back and forth and back and forth? What systems do you need to have in place now to handle that? Because I just am anticipating it's going to be a flood of people for about 6 weeks. And then things, then you can kind of go back to normal. But initially, there's going to be that panic that everybody wants in at the same time. And how are you going to accommodate that? That's what keeps me awake at night.
So this wouldn't be very, very different from any sort of appointment booking system that's available out there. Calendly is one of them as an example. And then there's another website called You Can Book Me, where it's multiple, you can assign to multiple people. I'm sure Calendly can also probably do that. But, I think it's looking at what's available off the shelf now so that you can actually do that. And then schedule the appointment so that you actually build in time for the cleanup and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And for the, you're going to have, whether you're hiring somebody to answer your phones for you for a period of time or something like that, if you are, if you don't want to use technology to do it, you've got to be able to get to those people quickly, because they're in a panic. They need to get their hair done because they got to go back to work on Monday. So I anticipate that anxiety fled phone calls, and that you're trying to get people in all at the same time. I think that could be a real stressor for us. So trying to think of those kind of things.
Curious to understand, is there a limitation on hours that you can be open?
No, our policy is we are 24 hours a day. So if our service provider wants to come in at 2:00 in the morning and that's when you want to come in and get your hair done, knock yourself out. They have access to our building at any time. So we were already set up for that. Like they could absolutely, we can spread people out. We can spread our service providers out, and then we can separate clients in our salon pretty easily. So I'm not worried about that. Definitely going to implement though the waiting room in your car so that we don't have people in a waiting area. That's a risk. So I definitely want to implement that, but we won't have any problem spreading people out.
The other part that I'm also quite specifically thinking about is the coming and going. And so recently I saw an ad for a door, an extension, like a key fob type of thing, where there's a hook where you can pull and push or tap onto surfaces, so that you can open the door without touching the door. Or you can input your information onto the grocery checkout without touching it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the opportunities now practically? In your case, Michelle, you have two doors. First the main building door, and then subsequently that door, and then for Alexandra, it's the completely separate room with also two doors. What can you do now to potentially also facilitate the no touch policy, or the touchless, this new touchless thing, perhaps even a sort of closer on the, elbow type closer on the door, stuff like that.
Well, or even as simple as payment processing. Our system, we could take people's credit card information ahead of time over the phone, and then we don't have to touch their cash or their cards. That's a simple thing that we already have the technology to do. We could certainly do that. I went through Dunkin' the other day to pay for my coffee, and there was a sign that said, please pay with credit card if you can. I'm assuming just so that they don't have to touch the money. And I thought, I need to make sure I do that.
100%. So the other part I was going to get to was, imagine that you now aren't able to have a receptionist. Right? Part of the exponential thinking process is to think about reinventing the wheel. For example, one of the clear examples is the internal combustion engine, right? You need a gas to power an engine, and that gets you from A to B. How can we think differently instead of incremental steps? Yes, we need incremental steps, but at the same time, because everything is being reset right now, here's an opportunity to fundamentally rethink what that could look like. And while I was talking, I had also an image of in Japan, they have these self-serve vending machines that will print out tickets for food. And these are commonly seen in restaurants. Okay, so there's a picture of, there's an actual 3D model of the food outside the window. You walk into the restaurant, or even next to the front of the store, you put in your money, you can choose the thing that you want, spits out a ticket, you walk inside, you're already prepaid, right? It's a quick and easy process. So what could that look like for the salon and spa and therapeutic services industry, where suddenly it's an Uber style thing? You have an app, you have it prepaid. And I would even say, hey, people come back on a regular basis. Let's look at subscription services. If you prepay for a year, you get a discount. If you pay by month, here's the price. That's going to help with cash flow, right? And there's a loyalty component to it, because, let's be honest, I'm not just going to up and jump to somebody else to cut my hair. Right? Same thing with massage therapy or any other sort of therapeutic services. Right? So that would be a cash injection right there. Quick and easy and available.
I do offer packages. It's not subscription, so it's not monthly, but people do buy them. As they're used up, they'll buy more. And then I did notice on Square the other day, they do offer the ability, kind of like with PayPal, to use email as far as a form of payment. Email invoices, and then they send it back. So that was something I was considering as well. Instead of having credit cards all the time, just be like, okay, your appointment's coming up. I'll send you an email like the Monday of that week or whatever. And then you pay via the email. And then that way you don't have to worry about it when you come in. We don't have to touch. There's no cash involved. If they want to tip me, it's on there. If they choose to wait to tip me until after the service is rendered, then that's a different story. But at least it reduces the amount of contact and exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of thinking about designing a new customer experience, right? So essentially all these different steps are barriers and road bumps in the process. And so what you want to be doing coming out of this is anticipating those road bumps and obstacles. And how can you lower those as much as possible, right? Like a one-touch type thing. Oh, you schedule an appointment, you already prepaid for that, and this is my usual tip, because this is not a new, this is a returning client, right? So the returning client is standard. Like, I know what I'm getting, I am going to pay what I'm going to pay. It hasn't changed very much. Maybe from year to year, annually, there may be a percentage change, but it's not, right? So all that to say that stuff like that, that's something to think about. From a package deal perspective, that's always helpful for cash flow. And it also guarantees you returns, right? that keeps you in business. So just thinking about it from a completely different perspective. For example, I know I go see my hairstylist every 4 to 5 weeks. I am very happy to pay the 4 to 5, the however many times I'm going a year in advance, because I'm still going to pay anyways. Like, it's not like going anywhere else, right? I'm gonna move. How's that any different? It's just a question of like cash flow right now, right? And so because the frontline retail businesses are not, and so same thing with food establishments. That's why food establishments now come up with this whole idea of buy a gift card. How's that any different? It's not. It's essentially the same thing, but also understand that in the little differences too is the barriers in terms of the use, right? Like, so gift cards have a specific amount, whereas what you're buying here is the exchange of services. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting, because we had talked about a membership model. That's something I feel like is coming to the industry down the road. And how different would the service providers that are out of work right now, how different would they feel today, knowing that they had that income no matter what, and then all they had to do was reschedule those clients when they came back? It would be a completely different feeling for them right now.
Yeah. So here's an example. I'm going to take it from the travel industry. Okay, so for the privileged who get to fly business class and higher, most of them are part of a loyalty program. As part of the loyalty program, the moment you get in to check yourself in and your bags and everything, immediately you get personalized attention, right? You have a card. They see, oh, welcome back, Michelle. We see you're traveling to XYZ location today. So how is that any different from doing that concierge style of service in the salon? It's not very different, right? Then we get into the whole area of the lounges and the clubs. What are the VIP packages that could potentially be available to your ongoing customers and clients, right? Like, I mean, it's first name basis. It's not very different, but at the same time, you can definitely leverage things that are something that they care about, right? Like, the last time they talk, oh, they actually like such and such a drink. Oh, the very next time they're there, hey, it's already there. Part of the membership package that so it's the evolution of salon services from a service to an experience, right? So I'm thinking about coffee as an example. Starbucks, right? It used to be called Starbucks Coffee and Company. Now it's just called Starbucks. Why? Because it's the experience. It's the Starbucks experience. It's not just about coffee, right? Coffee can be commoditized. The services and the products can be commoditized, but the experience is unique to what you're providing, right? Similar to the 360 chair booth thing that you have.
Yeah.
That's not something, and I mean, I'm sure they can and renovate and do that, but like, that's not something that's easily replicable, right?
No,
So
no.
something to consider, definitely.
Well, and I feel like there are two separate divisions in our industry. They're the quick in and out 15-minute haircut, where you're paying for convenience and speed, and then there's the client experience. And you just have to pick a lane. You can't be in both. You can't have an amazing client experience and say, I'm going to get you out in 10 minutes. So you kind of have to pick a lane. And I feel like
we pay more
experience lane so those are the kind of things that I want to think about, is how am I going to create a better client experience that you can charge more for? I feel like people are willing to pay for that. They're willing to pay for a good experience.
Absolutely. So like you say, so the problem is so what I understood or heard you say, the problem is May 1st, right? The weekend before May 1st, everybody's gonna, hey, can I get a haircut? Hey, can I get a whatever style blow, whatever? And then you go like, are you already a member? If you're not a member, would you like to be a member? Because you get priority sequence in scheduling, right? It's at no cost to you. When you sign up for a membership, here's what you get, right? So can you start building that right now? Same thing with the massage and therapy services. Hey, I have a backup, but I'm offering this to my first X number of clients that I can get going. What does that look like, right? Maybe people sign up for one massage therapy session a month, maybe two. I have your credit card on file. You don't get charged until you show up, but it's seamless. No money exchanges hands, 100% about the experience, right? So fundamentally, the opportunity here to just completely reinvent what that looks like.
So what is your stance on that? Because I tend to think we're already all in chaos right now. Now's a great time to throw in all of these changes. But then I also look at our team and say, how much change can they handle at one time?
Okay, great question. Yeah. I want to pause with Kimberly. Can you had something to say?
Yeah, I did. Do you still have, I mean, I'm going to assume, Michelle, that your salon was booked all the way through up until, what, 2 months, 3 months out?
Yeah, I would say, Alex, you're about 6 weeks out for everything, right? Pretty close.
It just depends. Solid booked is different. I mean, I have people booked out till June. They pre-book a lot of stuff. So it just depends on the client and everything. But as far as like you mean moving people from April to May to like further on kind of thing? I mean.
Right. So what I have done with all of my clients, and they know that I'm going to be working 10, 12-hour days. I mean, that is just the way it's going to be until we all get settled and probably working 6 to 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. But I have taken priority with those that were scheduled the week that we shut down. They will be the first ones in. And basically everyone is just getting kind of pushed back for at least a week or two when the new rollout comes. I would love to say that we're going to start on May 1st. I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. But this is where I've kind of left all my clients, and that's eased some of the panic with them. While I know I have clients that are already booked on these certain days, that's where that working 6, 7 days a week when this first rolls out, just trying to get them all in. As far as the doors go, they're not allowed to touch doors. I will go out, I will open the door, I will wipe the door down and then let them in and escort them back to my salon. So I think there is going to be chaos, but I think there can be calm chaos when it's all said and done. And as far as the experience goes, I think their experience is going to be more so, the value of it is how we are portraying our sanitation. Yeah. And because I think that's going to be the fear factor. I do a scalp massage, neck, shoulder massage with every single haircut that I do. I do a 5-minute massage with the shampoo bowl. Those are things that I absolutely will not skip over, no matter what. Even if they're wanting just a 10-minute haircut, that's fine. But that part of the experience is what I think they find the most valuable as far as the calm. And I do aromatherapy, I do essential oils with all of it. But I think really, truly, it is going to be the biggest concern as far as the sanitation goes, not so much the comfort experience. Because I have some high and mighty clients that think that they need to be pampered all day long. I currently mark out extra time for them as it is, but I know, for a haircut, I'm going to be marking out an hour for, a color service. But in the salon industry, as far as doing hair, I would love to say that I can sell you a package and you prepay, but my clients, we change all the time. So I don't necessarily know what we're going to be doing. It can change at the very last minute through the consultation, but I plan on invoicing them right there in the salon, and they never have to touch any of my devices. And then the invoice will be paid before they leave.
Yeah, so that's part of taking the payment information online. That there's the registration process that will facilitate that ability for that to happen. That's the same process that you would use if you went to a pub or a bar, where they would take your payment information ahead of time as a swipe, right? So instead of doing go ahead.
I send this out because I use Square myself. I do all my
Right.
appointments through Square, so they don't have to do anything. All I have to have is their email address. It's emailed to them. They click, they pay right then and there, and it's transferred into my account.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's
So
what
nothing beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. I mean, in terms of how that could work out, sort of the pre-authorization component. Coming back to your point, with the sanitization piece, so that could be something that you guys can think about getting in place in terms of some sort of air filters that would help with that in your location, primarily because so this gets into the flow of air, right? The flow of air and the flow of germs in a particular space, primarily because if you look at the hospital environment, they are set up for negative air pressure, right? Which means that they're sucking all the air into your contaminated space, as opposed to expelling positive pressure, which is expelling air out. So in the case of the salon building, Michelle, where you are, in the case of you, Kimberly, and Alexandra, I mean, we are working with non-closed loop systems, which means that air circulates throughout the entire building. So what can you be doing right now to prepare for reopening, so that to ensure, at least in some little way, that the air that you're circulating within your confined space is as germ-free as possible, right? What does that mean from setting up a air filter with perhaps some pipes that comes down from the vent, in the hope that the air circulated is hopefully cleaner than the majority of other places, of whatever that could look like. Or even things like working with the landlord and other people to install higher filtration level air filters, adding a UV light within the larger HVAC system to hopefully kill viruses that are coming through the recirculated air. Just a huge variety of different things that you can think about right now.
I think the most important piece of that is making sure that we're telling our clients what we are doing, because a lot of this stuff is private. You're not necessarily saying this is exactly how we are sanitizing things, and some people may not care, but there's going to be a lot more people that care about that now than ever have.
Yep.
So making that private work that we're doing public, so that they see it. So maybe, Kimberly, it's saying, I want you to wait in your car so that you are not touching these door handles. I am. And then you're seeing me wash my hands, and that, like, making them aware of the effort that you're taking.
Yeah. And so that, to your point, Michelle, I think that's a great first step to making the implicit explicit, and then being able to use that as part of your marketing material going forward when things start to reopen, because then it'll be like the comparison between, especially for new people coming in, to be comparison between, like, well, why should I go to Michelle or Kimberly or Alexandra if I've been going to, well, they're doing this. What are you guys doing, right? You're going to be the leaders of this new standard of care, right? So just like how the healthcare workers and professionals are literally creating day by day this new standard of care in the healthcare environment, the same thing would apply to any business. What are you going to be doing differently to create a higher level of care that is more accommodating to their well-being, above and beyond what you're already doing, which means then that there's an opportunity here to say, hey, here's the value that we're providing, and this is why we need to charge what we charge. Right. One example is, and again, I keep coming back to examples. I keep talking about Zappos.
No, this is why I like to look to other industries.
Yeah. So if you look at Zappos, they started out, they wanted to become the world's best, or at least the nation's best distributor for shoes, and now they've grown beyond shoes, but their customer service is top notch. So they're equipping their frontline customer service people, either on the chat on their website or on a phone call when you call in, to resolve the issue at the first touch. And they're automatically authorized to give you a percentage discount towards your next thing, or like, hey, ship back the shoes to us at no cost. You know, and we'll not just deliver them to you, we'll upgrade your delivery to next day air. Come on. They're not the cheapest place to get shoes. And of course they got acquired by Amazon, but they run independently. They're not the cheapest place to get shoes, but 100% because of their customer service. The next time I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, I'm going to look there first. Right? So being the trend leader and continually growing and innovating in the customer experience is going to be significant going forward for any sort of service and retail business.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at what your client expects and what's missing and how you can fill that gap.
Yeah.
So,
which leads to the bigger question: how well do we all know our customers?
I know mine really well because I took the co-starters class now. So I got to know I drew a picture of her. I did all of the stuff. She's got a name.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Kimberly, I'm sure, because she interacts with them one-on-one, and as well as you, Alexandra, I'm sure you know your customers very well. But, you know, knowing them well anecdotally is one thing, but being able to start grouping them into different groups and putting them down on paper and being able to talk about the demographic pieces, but more importantly, also the area of psychographics, which is the idea that not only do you understand what they look like, how old they are, where they come from, etc., how much they earn, but the ability to understand their thought process. And so what you see in many cases when you engage with people is all output, right? But what you don't see is the thought process. And the more you can continue to deeply understand how they make decisions, the way they think about things, what their motivations are, who they hang out with, why they hang out in the places that they hang out and do things the way they like to do it, then you begin to understand how to better customize the customer experience for them, right? And that's really going to be going forward. I think the people who are going to succeed significantly are those who are in the relentless pursuit of understanding deeply and quite specifically the different customer types and the people that they serve. So the more we can do that, the more we're going to say, okay, well, this is one customer type, that's another customer type, so on and so forth, right? And you will find the core. Here's actually what we want to focus on. You know, Michelle, as a business owner, a salon owner, we want to focus on this type and this type only. Kimberly already has some level of focus. You know, she is a lot more of the concierge service with the massage therapy built into the scalp massage and stuff built into the process. And she already has a niche customer type that they are immunocompromised in most cases, and they want to feel beautiful, they want to feel fashionable. And here's the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. So in some way, Kimberly already has some level of a head start in that, but it continues to evolve over time as your customers continue to grow and evolve over time.
Absolutely. No, I actually, I have clients that do business meetings in my salon. I will group them together. I have certain clients that I absolutely know that I cannot overlap together. So a lot of my clients are very strategically just on personalities alone, because, I mean, we see so many different people, so, you know, religions, whatever. So I have to be very delicate because the space is so small, and because they do typically end up sometimes sitting in there together, or if I am back to back, you know, I try and do it on a personality level or what their expectations are. So I don't think I'm going to have nearly as much problem as the larger salons, like we were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kimberly, you have a lot more control over your space with just using it too. So yeah, that's great.
And it is. And I mean, I have worked in Aveda salons for years, you know, so the experience is and always has been number one. But, you know, I think that, sorry, my sinuses are going crazy. But I just think there's going to have to be a very different, I mean, number one, we're all financially hurt right now, whether it be the stylists, whether it be owners, whether it be the renters. I don't, Michelle, does the staff, do they rent from you or are they?
We're mixed. We're a hybrid.
Are you? Okay. So yeah, so I mean, those that are renting booths, they're not going to have, some of them, the ability to, you know, put the sterilization, the UV lights, the air filters. So you know, I think in my mind, the broader picture is clean, 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 and you know, just the constant reassurance and keeping their psyche in the right place and still making them priority. And we have not, so everything that we've been through, have lost that inspiration to do so.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've reached the hour. I want to thank you so much for joining in. But before we go, any last thoughts from each of you?
I just love, I love talking about these kind of ideas because it sparked so many different things for me of, you know, different things that we can do to enhance the experience and make sure we're taking care of, you know, my clients are the service providers. So making sure I'm taking care of them so they can take care of their customers.
Right. And I think that's a huge thing for you. And I, you know, and forgive me because I do come back, you know, on the educator role of being a cosmetology teacher. You know, I think there's great value in your employees feeling that they're number one. Because I know that I've had some of my old students contact me and say, oh, the salon owner is doing this. Is this okay? Should I be doing this? How am I dealing with this? And they really feel a lack of, they feel that the salon owner is more interested in the bottom line of the dollar value and how we're going to break this all down so that we can catch back up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's where muddy water, you know, it plays in. So I think the biggest thing is the stylist will take care of their clients no matter what. I mean, it's their money, it's their bread and butter. But the biggest thing is us supporting the stylist and keeping them feeling safe and secure, and the rest will be a breeze for them.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I think it's all been great ideas, and I hope nothing ever sounded negative. Like I said, I dealing with the board, dealing with, you know, everything else. I think it's just going to be a very unique time, and it's like the stock market. It's going to come back. It's just probably going to come back slower than what we want it to.
Right.
So I'd rather be safe and smart than
yeah.
the other.
So I say, you know, I hope for the best. I hope that it's going to be super easy and we're going to be back to normal in no time, but I'm planning for the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is just eager to get back. I had to talk someone off of lunch yesterday, and it was not pretty.
Yeah.
So people coming in or going out. So no, I think all very great things and wonderful.
Well, Andrew, we so appreciate you walking through some of these ideas with us. Like I said, I know my brain's going to be sparking with ideas for the next few hours. I'm going to write them all down and then just start exploring them.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much, Alexandra, Kimberly, Michelle, for joining us today on this fireside chat. I look forward to more, especially as we come into the days ahead where hopefully the lockdown will be lifted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.